In this video, we're going to be talking about the hot mess that is the California theme park reopening guidelines and why all of a sudden Disneyland is asking California to slow down. And also we're going to be talking about the heartbreaking news about cast member layoffs. Hey there, my name is Eric D, and on this channel my hope is always to make your next Disney adventure a little bit more magical with tips and tricks, food reviews, and news. So if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. And while I would love to dive right in and talk about all the drama that is going on with the California reopening guidelines for theme parks, sadly as a Disney fan, this week has been really rough because on Tuesday, September 29th, Josh D'Amaro, the Disney Parks chairman, announced the layoff of 28,000 cast members. Part of his statement read, "In light of the prolonged impact of COVID-19 on our business, including limited capacity due to physical distancing requirements, and the continued uncertainty regarding the duration of the pandemic, exacerbated in California by the state's unwillingness to lift restrictions that would allow Disneyland to reopen, we have made the very difficult decision to begin the process of reducing our workforce at our parks, experiences, and products segment at all levels." End quote. So as Josh clearly calls out, the impact of COVID-19, the uncertainty of how long this will all last, and having to limit capacity have all impacted the business negatively. And layoffs are starting because of those factors. And as he said, the situation was exacerbated by what's been happening with the lack of guidelines in California. Sometimes when you hear numbers like 28,000, it can seem so large it doesn't seem personal. But over the last few days, we've begun to hear more about the specific groups that are losing team members, and cast members have been posting on social media about losing their jobs, and it really has been heart-wrenching. These layoffs are impacting cast members at all different levels and positions, from performers to PhotoPass photographers, from operations to food services, housekeeping to costuming, and over 400 Imagineers. With layoffs this massive, it's very likely on your last trip to Disneyland or Walt Disney World before COVID, you interacted with multiple cast members that no longer have a job. And it really is sad to, as a Disney fan, think about those people who helped make all this magic happen, hurting right now and no longer having employment. And so in the description below, I'm going to put some links to some sites and some groups where they are getting together to try and offer some help and some encouragement to cast members in different ways, whether that is financially or through food donations, different things like that. So I would encourage you to check out those links. Cast members have been great to us in the past. If you can donate to those different organizations and help out there, I would highly encourage that. So definitely check those out. So with those sad announcements, it really does feel silly to talk about the drama that is going on with the state of California and the reopening guidelines. But this week has been probably the most dramatic of all the weeks yet. Governor Newsom's press secretary said on Thursday, theme park guidance is expected to come from CDPH this week. Theme parks will be incorporated into the blueprint for a safer economy similar to other sectors. So this is what we have all been asking and begging for, so we should be excited about this, right? Wrong. Because on Wednesday night, Carly Wiesel, a theme park reporter, got a tip on what some of the restrictions of the guidelines would include. Advanced ticket sales, 25% capacity for parks, face coverings, all things we were expecting. But then there were some other things like limiting admission to people residing within certain distances of the park. Others on social media began confirming this and adding there were other new rules included in the guidelines, like the parks might not be able to open until the county reaches the yellow tier. So at first I was thinking this was a little bit far-fetched because I don't know of other businesses that are having to limit their customers based on where they live. And also there are plenty of other businesses that in the purple, red, and orange all have the opportunity to open both indoor and outdoor operations at different levels. So this all seemed a little bit much, maybe just a little bit dramatic. But then we got this news from the Orange County Register. Disneyland, Universal Studios Hollywood, and other California theme parks are asking Governor Gavin Newsom and his administration not to finalize COVID-19 health and safety reopening guidelines without first working with the industry. So my reaction is, what? They have been begging for months, and then the night before they come out, they say no? So at that moment, the realization was hitting all of us, oh no, those restrictions are real. And at this point, the Orange County Register has confirmed that those guidelines were presented to the different theme parks. CAPA, the group that represents the California amusement parks, made this statement. We are asking the governor not to finalize guidance for amusement parks before engaging the industry in a more earnest manner, listening to park operators' expertise and collaborating with the industry on a plan that will allow for amusement parks to reopen responsibly while still keeping the health and safety of park employees and guests a top priority. The spokesperson went on to say, today, California amusement park leaders who have been working for months to prepare to reopen responsibly saw an initial draft of state guidance and blueprint placement for California's amusement parks. While we are aligned on many of the protocols and health and safety requirements, there are many others that need to be modified if they are to lead to a responsible and reasonable amusement park reopening plan. Then to top it all off, after Disneyland says they don't want the governor to release the guidelines, Bob Iger, the Disney company's chairman, quit Governor Gavin Newsom's Economic Recovery Task Force, showing further that the relationship between Disney and the governor is really not in a good place. So why are the two restrictions of the yellow tier and likely the restrictions of the distance such a big deal that Disneyland and the other parks would say, you know what, don't even give us the guidelines at this point. We need to work through this. Like, we'd rather not have the guidelines than have these guidelines. Well, with the yellow tier, that would basically mean for the majority of the parks, they're not opening for a long, long time. On a daily basis, counties would need less than one person with COVID for every 100,000 individuals in the county over a 2-week period before they could move into the yellow tier. The test positive rate would also need to be under 2%. So for a county like Orange County, where Disneyland is located, that has around 3.1 million people, they would need less than 31 people a day to test positive for COVID. This isn't talking about people in the hospital, this is just people testing positive. They could be even asymptomatic. In large population centers, that is nearly impossible to get that low. Currently, only 3 counties in California have reached the yellow tier, and they all have very low populations, like 8,777, 1,101, and 17,471 people. All of the theme parks are located in places where there's large populations, and so it would be very difficult for those counties to get into that yellow tier to begin with. And then even if they do get to that yellow tier, there is no green tier to move to. So that means Disneyland and the other parks would have to remain at the same standard, and so 25%, there's no growing to a 30% or 35% capacity. So really, they're locked in there after having to wait months and months to open. So this could be, depending on how long the pandemic lasts and how long there are cases of COVID, this could go on months and months, and that is definitely something Disney wants to avoid. And then, for the restriction involving distances, that would mean, what we're hearing is about 120 miles from Disneyland. So that would mean most of Northern California could not come to Disneyland, any other states could not come. And what's weird about that is, from what I know, no other industries or sectors are being treated that way where, oh, you can't come into this restaurant because you live in this zip code, or you can't come to our hotel because you live in this zip code. So someone from San Francisco can go down to San Diego and spend days in a hotel, go to the different restaurants, go to the zoo, see all those things, and vice versa. Someone could go up to San Francisco and see all those sites, and people from other states could come in. Yet when it comes to Disneyland or other theme parks, they're saying that's not allowed. That's definitely something that the theme parks are going to push against, because while there is a lot of people in that 120-mile radius, at the same time, there are a lot of guests throughout all of California and other states that would like to come in, that are healthy, that will abide by the rules, and that want to spend money in California and at the parks. And as we know, out of town or out of state tourists are usually larger spenders because they stay for a few days. They usually don't have an annual pass, so they're buying tickets that cost more per day than the annual passes do. They're buying multiple meals, they're buying more merchandise, and so the thought of losing those completely after you've already cut down your capacity by 25%, it's already going to be hard to make this work financially, and it's just making it harder and harder by the restriction, really. If you remember what Josh D'Amaro said the other week in his message to state leaders, he said, "I encourage you to treat the theme parks like you would treat other sectors and help us reopen. We need guidelines that are fair and equitable," end quote. Well, compared to other sectors and industries, these two rules really wouldn't be fair or equitable. So after Disney and the other theme parks said, please don't give us the guidelines, let us work with you, the question was, is the governor going to go ahead and release those guidelines? Well, the governor and his office announced they would not release the guidelines at this point. California Health and Human Service Secretary Dr. Mark Galley said, given the size and operational complexities of these unique sectors, we are seeking additional input from health, workforce, and business stakeholders to finalize this important framework, all leading with science and safety. So that is where we are at. I told you it was a wild ride this week. Over on Mice Chat, they are saying that Disney is pushing towards November 6th as the opening date. We'll have to see how that plays out still. Now that the governor is holding off on releasing the guidelines because he was asked to, do we think Disney and the other theme parks and the governor and his office are going to work together nice? I would love to hear your thoughts on that in the comments below, because currently it seems what was offered from the governor was, oh, here's the guidelines, but you're not going to be able to open for months. So do we think that the governor will be able to negotiate with the theme parks on that? Do you think the theme parks will be able to get him to see that there is safe ways to do these things? I would love to hear your thoughts on that in the comments below. Also, if you have thoughts on how to help cast members or any cast member stories you would like to share, I would love to hear those in the comments below too. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see y'all again real soon. Bye.